I want her life. Like it's something like this. I don't want her involved in this.
Oh, the missing persons report.
Yeah, and I'll totally come forward with that.
That's all it is the truth. So there's nothing to hide in that coroner's report. There's nothing to hide by not having Callie take a polygraph. And if the truth comes out and this was a suicide, that's all I'm after. And everybody working around me knows that. They know I'm willing to sit here and say, well, I was wrong.
How do you do it? I had to sneak the other day when I was with Josie. I had to sneak and talk to him. I had to sneak and talk to him about his sister.
Makes me think the worst. Like, did you all three of them?
Hello, thanks for being here, everyone, and thanks for joining me tonight, CDT.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to chatting with you and everybody else. So, hello, chat.
Okay, sorry this was so last minute, everyone. It's been in the works for a while, but now I think was a good time to kind of lay it out there, and I feel like I have a better understanding of this topic. So give me 1 second while I share the screen. But anyways, while I share the screen, I figured we would talk briefly about Summer Wells and her being a 6-year-old girl missing from Tennessee. And it's been over 8 months at this point, right?
Yeah. It's coming up on 9 months once we hit March 15th.
So it's just, obviously we'd like to bring updated news, but instead we're kind of just ironing out a topic that's been, kind of speculated on, and I guess I'll say even gossiped about, just because we're going to show you some receipts and message threads that were going around in the Summer Wells Facebook groups when this first kind of happened. And the topic is the footprints, the alleged footprints that were found near Summer's house. And we just map it all out. This actually was a missing flyer where it's one of the only ones that I've seen mention that she was possibly barefoot. So it was just like something that was going around, sort of like how the red truck was going around, and people were trying to really understand, like, okay, so it's the red truck isn't a suspect, but it could be a possible witness. Like, it's just been these little topics in this case that we've kind of had to put under a microscope and, I don't know, just kind of iron out what is actually going on. And for a while, I kind of didn't pay this topic any mind and kind of was accepted it as like whatever. But the more I kind of like looked into it, and the more like I even tried to debunk it in a way, the more it seemed like, okay, this seems like it has more merit to it than I thought it did. Like, I thought it was just hearsay, gossip, rumor, but it seems like people who were kind of closer to the scene in the search, like the EquiSearch guy, David Rader, will just like play all these clips that kind of come together, and then hopefully we can kind of understand, if these were Summer, like right now I feel like if these really were Summer's footprints, for me all it means is she wandered the neighborhood. Like, it didn't have to necessarily be that day. And it can still kind of play into the theories that we've kind of been already talking about on this channel and on CDT's channel. So I guess we'll just get right into it. Let me just say hi to Valerie and Punksy, Ambi, Pink Dahlia, Island Girl, Open Minds. Thank you all for being here. Anything you want to say about the footprints?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what you put together, because I was kind of the same way. I knew that a neighbor had posted about footprints in a Facebook group and then never really heard anything else about it. I had people in my chats when the footprints are brought up say that David Rader did speak on them. So I never had heard that. So I'm interested to hear that. But yeah, I just think even if they were Summers, it doesn't necessarily mean they were from that day. I'm curious, the dogs. I don't know. We just haven't heard from law enforcement anything about the dogs other than they followed her scent down that dog trail and it ended at the road. So,
Right. And the thing
yeah,
that we've heard from law enforcement, which we will show in this too, is no sign of abduction. And then suddenly TBI said some report, I believe after the Dr. Phil show, like she could have wandered off or something like that. So then I started thinking like, okay, so it's almost like through, and it's sort of the theory that I kind of go through, and I'll show you. It sort of seems like even though they're not coming out saying we found a bare footprint, it seems like through certain things it can allude to that. Like, for example, like here it shows those shoes that were found in her yard. Over and over, that image of just the shoe laying in the grass, the media was just like playing it over and over. And it's like, it is sort of bizarre. I always thought like that was kind of weird. Like the most recent sneakers, because this picture was taken the weekend prior to her going missing. And she's like wearing that top too that she's wearing in the swimming in the horse pond. But
yes.
it's just kind of like strange that her shoe was in the yard, and I don't know, Candace never really like talked about it.
Right. I was actually listening to Voices Behind the Wall re-uploaded a lot of their older interviews with Dawn, and she asked him, was it just Summer that went missing, or was there anything else missing? And that wished she was barefoot. And Dawn said, yeah, I think she was barefoot. So, yeah, this shoe, though, in the yard like this is always stood out to me, too.
Because where is the other shoe? And I had a
Good
picture
question.
of Benny Keys holding up his phone, and he showed like a picture of a shoe, and I didn't know if it was this one and it's just like a repeated picture that's been going around, or if it's the other half. But I mean, I just, where is the other one? Um, It is sort of like I didn't really think it was red flaggish to see, like, this picture of the flip-flop. I mean, it's kinda like, okay, she liked to go barefoot. So, it was just kinda like things like that I was kinda gathering, like, okay, I guess it seems as though the only pair of shoes she has were those one green ones, and they looked like they were way too big for her, as well as those, like, gel type sandals she had in that one picture that you pointed out, where it was, like, way too big for her feet.
Yes.
So I guess I
Yeah.
started to start believing that it was probable that she was barefoot. She didn't even have shoes that fit her. So as
Yeah.
I was kinda gathering all that, I was just furthering my research, and I joined this case,
I'm
I
going.
mean, close to almost like a month after it started. Like, in July, I started following this after you had started. I think Cher had already started, and, so I had seen, like, that shoe image going around already. I mean, I was kinda, like, late to it in the Facebook groups even by the time I joined the Facebook groups. And people, when we brought up this topic in past live streams, Amanda Vita and others have said that somebody was in these Facebook groups, allegedly a neighbor, and he was sharing information about the search when it first happened. And I guess, like, people were trying to say that he was berated for voicing everything that he was sharing, and he decided not to share anymore, and he wasn't gonna do any interviews, etcetera, and I just thought that was, like, so bizarre. Like, if you know something is true and you have nothing to hide, and it's involving, like, a missing child, why not just come out with it, and who cares if people harass you in groups, you know what I mean? Facebook groups at that. So that whole thing was just, like, very weird to me, and I just remember, like, coming away from that live stream we did, and I was just like, I want to know more about like these footprints, because in my mind, up until that point, I figured, she left in a vehicle, because we had the neighbor saying that she heard a heavy door slam. We heard Don slip up and say, put her in her car. I mean, there was just like a lot of things that alluded to she left in a vehicle, like even her scent that went down that dog trail. You know what I mean?
Right.
So when people start talking about the footprints, I was just like, I need to really understand like what's going on, because if she was walking around the neighborhood and did leave footprints, it kind of played into the first reports that said that she was seen outside and walking away from the home. So
Very
I was
true.
kind of like, ooh, maybe stories changed from the 911 time, and the footprints are kind of proof in a way that she was actually, they did say she was walking away from the home or something, like something has always stood out to me when they like reported her being outside her house. And then Don said at first that basement door was open. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he said, being outside was her downfall. There were reports early on that the boys told law enforcement they saw Summer leave out the back door, aka the basement door. And yeah, those early reports of her last seen walking away from her home on Ben Hill Road, I mean, those had to have come from somewhere that, made them believe that that's what happened.
Right. Because
So,
it wasn't just the media reporting it, and it was TBI, and it wasn't just, oh, the dispatcher must have got it wrong. Like TBI is not going to post something on their Twitter, like one of their main information resources and pages, if it was wrong. And they shared that she was last seen outside. So yes, single mom of 4 said, which you brought up before, it said that the boys seen her walk out of her by her brothers. Like, remember they said something about seeing her go outside?
yes. Yep.
So it's just been like a lot of what is going on. Where was she? Was she outside? And people are very confused by it. And so pretty much I went into okay, no problem, Karen. I went into a Facebook group for Summer Wells, and I wanted to figure out, somebody must have proof of that neighbor saying that he was berated in Facebook groups, and the footprints were found near his place, this and that. So I went on this little hunt, and people are very gracious in sharing what information they have in the Summer Wells case, obviously because it's a missing child, and instantly was given screenshots of the neighbor who said that's what was taking place during the search near his house. So I pre-recorded myself reading this. I'm going to speed it up just a little bit because I'm like reading it too slow. It was the first time, like as I'm recording, it was the first time I was kind of processing everything. So give me 1 second. So verbatim, this is what the person said to me in the Facebook group, and then posted all these screenshots. I'm going to post a bunch of screenshots showing the way this played out, because it was not just one print. Search crews had already been on my land before they found the print. They were searching a second time when they found it. So there were adult footprints all over my land by then. Once they found the print, they called in truckload after truckload after truckload of search crews. I stayed up until about 1 a.m. and they were still searching when I went back to bed. They came back again a day or two later. Okay, I'm just going to pause it real quick. So this neighbor is saying search crews had already been on my land before they found the print. They were searching a second time when they found it. So there were adult footprints all over my land by then. So remember, CDT, earlier we were having a little conversation. We were saying if they found the print, and she was being carried or taken away? Why wouldn't there be adult prints or something next to her? I don't know. And that's what's kind of strange about, because think about it, the Watts case, the people who inserted themselves in the investigation, okay? And it's happened in plenty of other investigations too. Like somebody comes out claiming they know the victim or they know the criminal in the story, and come to find out they just wanted fame from it, you know? So or maybe they're tied to it and they're still spinning their own narrative. You know what I mean? Like these are kind of things that were kind of going through people's head while this person was posting this information in the Summer Wells group. So you'll see. But they say right here, they had already been on his property. So that's why like adult footprints were already kind of mixed in with the one print that they found the second search. So I don't know if they're trying to explain like, oh, like say it was, they were, do you know what I mean? Like, are they just saying this information, or like, what's the reasoning behind them giving this information pretty much? You know what I mean? And that's what people were kind of thinking in the group. Like they didn't know if this person's intentions were just being honest and telling them what, or if they were inserting information in the case and kind of circulating it around the groups.
Right. I see what you're saying. And it's interesting that they're saying that they had already been on the land before they found the print and then came back a second time and found it. So that's almost like, was it not there the first time they searched and then it was? That's what it seems like they're saying.
Right. Or yeah, they're saying for some reason they didn't find it the first time and then it was there the second time, but by then other footprints were mixed in. So it's kind of like weird how they've started this out by throwing that in there, you know? I don't know, it's just all weird. And then you'll hear other people in the group chime in and they're kind of suspicious of this person.
And searched again. I didn't even know the Wells house was there until after she went missing. I have never seen anyone else on my land, but with kids being kids, I can't say they were never on it before. Sometimes dogs will come down out of the woods and my dogs will chase them away, but I haven't seen any people on it.
So it's also interesting that they say they've never seen anyone else on their land, but then says, but with kids being kids, you know, it's kind of like he can't just say, no one's ever been here. I would know that, you know, but he's kind of leaving the door open for like, but maybe.
Right. And then when he's saying there were adult footprints all over my land by then, is he talking about the searchers? Since they had
Yes.
already been there? Okay, gotcha.
Yes, he's pretty
That's how I
much
took it.
saying it was trampled already. So but
Yeah.
if there were adult prints, then it could have been the searchers the first time. And somebody
Okay.
asked what this is. This is just us going over the footprints and where they came from, like the talk of it and all that.
Neither me or my other neighbor are comfortable posting our addresses on here. One neighbor is being harassed and yelled at because of people posting his house and truck on here. I have seen several out-of-state cars parking on the side of the road and trying to get through or over my neighbor's gates. Not a very smart thing to do. Without knowing which direction she was going, it's hard to say. One was near the woods and one was near a road. Just don't know which print came first. And that's just what supposedly the neighbors said. Not sure if that's true or not. I don't know if the searchers would be telling anyone anything like that. I may have missed something, but I was under the impression that law enforcement was steering more towards foul play instead of her wandering off or an abduction. Of course, I may be wrong, so don't quote me. I may have missed something, especially with all the gossip surrounding.
So this was just somebody else talking to him, and pretty much like I thought this was interesting because they said that at that moment that things seemed like it was steering towards foul play, which kind of plays into it being true because law enforcement said no signs of abduction.
Right.
and they couldn't find her. So as I'm reading through this Facebook talk, I'm like, this does kind of seem true then, because that was sort of, and still is sort of, the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Surrounding this case. Last time I checked, I'm pretty sure I know where I live. I was in my yard when the search crew was on my property. I heard the dogs bark in to identify a scent. A few minutes later, 2 deputies pulled in my driveway on a gator and told me they had found a child's barefoot footprint and the dogs identified Summer's scent on it.
So again, this is hearsay in a way from the neighbor talking in the group, claiming that the print had Summer's scent on it.
Do you think they would tell the neighbor this though? Or I don't know.
That's the thing, is you have the same thoughts that pretty much came at this person in the thread. Like, they were kind of like, okay, buddy, like, why are you giving us, or why would the comment before this said, would the searchers say that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's the same thoughts. So this is just kind of working out the whole, is this true? Is this not true? You know what I mean? So it's kind of suspicious. Like, even for me, it's like, yeah, would the sheriff say 2 deputies pulled in my driveway and told me they had found a child's bare footprint and dogs identified Summer's scent on it?
Right. See, I could understand the the deputies bringing up the footprint because they want to compare it to her child's
Yeah.
size. But then it's like beyond that, it's kind of questionable to me.
They asked me what
But I don't
shoe
know.
size my kids wore and if my kids had been in the woods. I feel like that could be a real conversation with law enforcement.
Yeah, I do too. That part for sure. Now, do we know where this neighbor lives in relation to the Wells or who they are?
Um,
Because their
it
name, they backed away after
right.
this, right?
Yeah, that's the thing, is this thread, everyone who's wondering and just joined, was sent to me, and they had blacked out the names because people are really protective of this guy, apparently, because of the information that he's given. Like, they really believe it or they don't believe it, and they pretty much, when I was asking these questions, somebody in the group said to me, "Why? So you can harass this guy?" And I was just like taken back because, like, that's what we do in these true crime groups. Like, we ask questions and hopefully try to get answers, but I didn't expect to be attacked for like wanting answers. So for some reason, everyone's very like touchy about all this information. And I don't know. It's like, at this point, I was still kind of like, do I believe this? Do I not? You know what I mean? And the problem is, we hear like later in this conversation and thread that this guy is getting some information from another neighbor. So when he says, they told me they had found a child's bare footprint and dogs identified Summer's scent on it, it's like, did they tell you that? Or is that just more gossip that you kind of contracted from your neighbor who you end up telling us about too? So it's all kind of like wishy-washy hearsay still.
They asked what size shoe my kids wore and if my kids had been in the woods barefoot in the last couple of days. After that, they found another footprint farther up the ridge in my other neighbor's woods. So at some point, she walked from her house through my yard into my neighbor's yard and in the woods behind their house. They brought out a massive search crew and searched all of my vehicles, buildings, and my entire property and flew the helicopter over us for several hours straight.
So, they searched this guy's allegedly searched this guy's vehicle. So they must have been tipped off enough to take the time to do that if this guy is telling the truth. Hi, crazy crime chick. So how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, if this person is not being honest about this, this is a very elaborate and deep lie.
Right. And
So,
I end up showing the media timeline and the search timeline too in this, and it pretty much lines up with a few days after Summer went missing, they did another helicopter at night and searched over a field pretty much. I'll show you.
Interesting.
Never found anything else that we know of. Here's a picture of the search helicopter above us. I don't think the neighbor can be trusted any more than anybody else. Just because he says something doesn't mean it's true. I'm not sure what I believe from any.
So this, of course, is somebody else in the group questioning what this person's saying. And it's just kind of funny. I'm like, is that Kelly?
Yeah. There I am.
I don't think this neighbor can be trusted.
Right.
But it pretty
hearsay.
much is like, I mean, people are just being straightforward. Like, should I
Yeah.
believe this hearsay, or who is this person, you know? Broken Dishes said, just my personal theory, but have always believed, but in a planned abduction based on dogs tracking to road. Thank you so much, Amber and CDT. Your mileage may vary. Thank you so much, Broken Dishes, and we really appreciate your support and always being there when you can in chat on so many cases and topics, and we really appreciate your input too.
Yes, I second that. Thank you, Broken Dishes.
Continuing, dear.
Anyone these days, she didn't just vanish. The new neighbors lived there less than a year, I think I read. I would be interested in knowing how far of a walk that would be, and if Summer went there prior to the time she went missing. Are there children her age there? Also, would the police release information like dogs hitting on her scent there? Who told us about the dogs hitting in her driveway? So many questions, and I think the people on the hill know more than they are saying. Wonder how often Summer was out playing unsupervised for long periods of time.
So I thought you would find that a little interesting, because this person is questioning this neighbor in the Facebook group and is saying, like, you know, was she always walking around the neighborhood? You know what I mean? Were there kids there that she went there to play with?
Right.
Why would the police tell her about dogs hitting in certain places? You know what I mean?
And let me know in chat, or if you know, Amber, I feel like Jody Sue has said that the kids would play in the road. So again, these footprints, we have an alleged timeline from 3:30 to 6:30. If we trust Candace, I don't fully trust that timeline, but just for the sake of this conversation, they get home at 3:30, she's reported missing at 6:30. She could have been in the road walking around others' properties if that was normal for her or whatever. I don't know if that makes sense,
Right.
but it's just, how is there just one footprint or whatever? Or footprints.
Yeah,
I just don't see how there's not a trail of them.
exactly. And I don't know. It's like, this person is asking all the right questions. Like, would law enforcement tell you that? How often was Summer playing outside unsupervised for long periods of time? I mean, that very well could play into the theory of her being trigger warning, but sold to neighbors, and the sheds around the neighborhood mean more sinister things than we think. And it's just obviously dark thoughts, but it's kind of like, is that why her prints would be around places, like, how often was
Mhm.
she outside? And Don saying, like you said, and reminded us, he'd said in that interview, it was her downfall being outside.
Right.
So it's like, at this point, if the footprints are real or not, like, who's to say they weren't there the day prior?
Exactly. Yeah. How could we really know when they appeared there? Except the neighbor said that they searched, they weren't there, and then they were there, right? So,
They said they found them the second time. I don't know if
okay.
they just weren't seeing it the first time. I guess it's possible, but
Yeah.
um
Then that almost leads you to think, was she being kept somewhere around there that day? I don't know. This is weird to me. I just don't know how to process all this.
I don't know either, and it very well could be like you just said, because think about Don saying like he wanted to go out and talk to drug dealers or whatever, and he was mad that some neighbors wouldn't let their property searched, remember?
Yes, I
So it's
do.
like it almost makes me think like like you just said, like was she alive somewhere and then just not like given back yet, or like we don't know really because we don't know where she is. But I think that if we by the end of this, if we believe in the footprints meaning something, then it still kind of adds more questions like, okay, so what day were those there? Because in this little timeline, it seems as though they found them on the 19th, which was Saturday. And, so could they have been put there on Monday? Could it have been days after? I don't know, because there were roadblocks. And so if she was within the roadblocks alive, I guess maybe those prints could have happened after the 15th.
Right. Yeah, Karen says the way she ran all over the church, I bet she played outside unsupervised. I agree. I don't think there was much supervision going on. And that's why, again, I think Candace's story about walking into the house is not true. But yeah, it is all confusing. But
Hopefully once this, honestly, it's going to leave you feeling like they could be true, but it only means that she was walking around the neighborhood barefoot. We don't know when, but if her
right.
scent is on them, that's significant. And this isn't the only area that I'll show that says pretty much, yeah, the footprints had scents.
At some point, the dogs alerted at 2 different neighbor houses. I don't know why law enforcement didn't tell us, but it's probably one of the many things we don't know. I think they know. I think they bumbled at the beginning and are screwed now. That's just a neighbor. His word doesn't mean.
These are just other people commenting, but that's just a neighbor. His word doesn't mean any more than anyone else's. And it's like, yes and no. Because at first, when this case happened, we didn't know much about the neighbors. And then once we started learning more about the neighbors, it's like, okay, this neighbor could be hiding something. That neighbor could be hiding something,
Exactly. Yes.
So it's almost like hindsight is 2020 for this person, because who commented this, because little did they know, like everyone surrounding this girl was just shady.
Right. That's so sad, but so true.
Any more than anyone else's. This guy sure likes to post a lot of comments, and I wouldn't take his word over anybody else's. Not saying he's lying, but a lot of people are just attention seekers, and I've seen a few comments made by him. Remember, the person responsible usually likes to be in the center of everything, too. Exactly. Why in the world would you go on social media and be talking about a case when the case is still open and the precious little girl is still not found? Attention. Message from the neighbor to me, telling me she heard they found a footprint, the one on my land, and telling me one on their land. Law enforcement had said for locals not to get involved, so we are avoiding the area so we did not hinder any search efforts. They are not the house that is on the corner of Ben Hill and Beach Creek. I will not give their location away or their name. And then he shared a picture of his chat. Looks like a text message thread with supposedly the neighbor. And he said, "We haven't looked on our land yet because we don't want to disturb any potential evidence." And then the other person said, "Well, I had heard they had found footprints and also believe there is a dog with her. They also found footprint next to us and on our land. Did you all put water and food out for her?"
So they believe there's a dog with her?
Yeah. I
And
don't know.
these are and that's the thing, is people who back this footprint being significant, like heavily, put a lot of weight into these neighbors and this one neighbor who says, I will not give their name.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I understand that you would protect someone's identity, but why are you in a Facebook group then? Like, why
Yeah,
are you sharing this information in a Summer Wells Facebook group? It's not like he's amongst his friends and family on his own Facebook group and saying, "Guess what happened to me today? You're never gonna believe this," and has like a thread there. He's
exactly.
he's placed in these like Facebook groups. So it's like very weird.
And they should know posting something like this, surrounding a missing, at the time, 5-year-old girl, there's going to be questions. And I don't know, I just feel like if you're being totally honest and transparent, you would take the feedback, the flack, and continue to explain your truth.
Right. And in this person's conversation, he says, we didn't want to like search and hinder the investigation or whatever. But then why are you posting all this in a Facebook group?
Good point. Yeah.
We had not put anything out, but that is a good idea. We were just trying to avoid the area until they were finished searching. They have had search crews of about 20 people all over our land. Are you all the house on the corner of Ben Hill and Beach Creek? Same neighbor told me it wasn't in their yard, but on a ridge behind their house. I got tired of sitting around waiting, so I went and asked deputies if we had permission to search our own land and was told yes. And then he shows more conversations with that neighbor. It wasn't in the yard, it was up behind us on the ridge we own. Any new clues down your way? I stopped and talked to the deputies yesterday and asked them if they want us to stay off the land so we don't.
I will add one thing though. It seems as though the location looked like the prints, if they were, valid and legit, they were avoiding the road or being seen by the road. So I feel like that's interesting because, with the roadblocks and all that, if something was occurring within that, then they were purposely kind of keeping away from the road area.
Right. That would make sense.
Disturb anything, or if they wanted us looking, they said, by all means, get out and search every last inch of our property. When I get home from work, we are going to start looking. Okay, let me know if anything stands out. Mom and I searched what we could. She just isn't able, and neither am I.
So the identity of those people were protected by the person who shared it with me, and because they don't want this person to be berated like as before. But I just noticed that, like, even though we don't have the name in the picture, their Facebook picture or whatever, he said, "Mom isn't able to, and neither am I." So I wonder if it's that guy, that neighbor who was like, "You're upsetting my mother."
Yeah, that'd be Don Sherfy
Yeah.
Senior. Yeah. But then
And
he,
again, this is speculation because they protected the identity when they sent me those screenshots, but I don't
yeah,
know.
but then he allegedly was in another state trucking.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Okay, is this the helicopter path?
Oh,
Or
yep,
no?
yep, yep.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, you sent me this, and it kind of pinpoints
I
the
don't remember
footprints.
where I got this, but
I can't remember either. I think you said it was Michelle After Dark, maybe?
it was Michelle After Dark because she did a video on this and she believes the footprints 100%.
Do you remember what day this, I'm assuming, was taken the 19th because they put the helicopter out. They did the
Okay.
helicopter the night Summer went missing, and the next one was, I believe, on the 19th. So I think this was that day. But again, I'm not 100%. I'm assuming because if this video was about the footprints, then that's probably what she was showing.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm pretty sure Michelle After Dark, and then somewhere in the title, she has footprints. And I think it was a more recent video.
Okay, so this right here, let me just change my screen real quick because I made a video and I've used it as a reference a lot in this. It's not only got the media stuff like the videos, but I've clipped Twitter stuff and articles in the paper at the time. Well, not the paper, but websites. But so I fast forwarded to the part where it's talking about the search, and at this point we're at June 18th. So is this on the screen? You guys see it?
I see, yeah, Dawn, and it's
Okay.
yeah, Bianca.
Excellent. And then we'll go back to the helicopter picture, but this corroborates the helicopter picture, and that kind of shows like there was some sort of interest. Suddenly something did pique law enforcement's interest around the 18th, but specifically Saturday the 19th.
Friday evening for those wanting to pray for Summer about 72 hours after her.
Hold on. I did that way too fast when I was replaying it.
It works for me. No.
I know. Me too, but some other
Yeah.
people have commented before.
I know.
Disappearance. Summer's father, Don Wells, and one of her brothers attended the vigil. Don said he was at work when his wife called him to tell him that Summer was missing on Tuesday and that he had rushed home to find his boys and neighbors searching for his daughter. June 19th, TBI shared photographs of Summer's house and property where she was last seen. Saturday, June 19th, 113 tips as the search continues. The TBI said it had received 113 tips as of Saturday afternoon as searchers continued the search for Summer. The agency also shared more photo of Wells' residence. TBI's tweet says, as of this afternoon, authorities have received 113 tips. Please continue to share her photo and information. TBI also tweeted, 5-year-old Summer Wells went missing from this property. Anyone with information regarding her disappearance is asked to call 1-800-TBI-FIND. Every detail, no matter how insignificant you think it may be, is important. Please help us bring her home. Hawkins County 911 announced that a statewide call-out was requested through the Tennessee Association of Rescue Squads for Sunday regarding the search for Summer. Ground crews were seen combing a field with flashlights Saturday night as a helicopter flew overhead. The TBI said that its agents and Hawkins County investigators responded to the location near Beach Creek Road to follow up on a lead, but Summer remained missing.
So I believe, going back and combing through this, that the helicopter picture you sent me aligns with this report talking about a lead. But by the end of this night, and obviously still to this day, that lead that night with the helicopter search and like the pattern you showed, the lead ended nowhere really. I mean, we're still here, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it hasn't led us to Summer, or at least any solid enough evidence that they've, released it as a lead for public to know.
Right, exactly. And go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's interesting how you found this and then, compared it to the picture I sent and the neighbor screenshot. I
Oh
like how
yeah,
you're doing
I'm
this.
not done yet, too.
You're like, I got more.
I've
But yeah.
tied it all together, and at the end of this, I think you're gonna lean on the footprints, possibly more than before, being Summers, but at the same time, I think you're gonna end up thinking how I do and say we don't know when that print was there, and all it means is, she wandered the neighborhood likely by herself or on her way to do whatever she was sent to do, or whatever. Or just unsupervised in general.
Yeah, because I mean, my kid could go missing from my yard, and then they might find a footprint, but it doesn't mean it was from that day. And that's where I think the dogs come in, because I've heard a dog handler say they can smell like I'm trying to think, like the level of the scent, if it's a fresher scent versus an older scent.
Yeah, I think actually when you posted the Chris Watts house search, I think it was today. I heard one of the dog handlers say something like, they were asking Chris if Shanann ever went walking or something, and they were talking about something, and she said something about the scent being there for up to like 8 days or something. But again, it was through body cam audio, so it wasn't completely clear, and I don't have the best hearing after working in a restaurant and dishes banging around me for so long. But I
Yeah.
swear I heard the handler say something about a scent could be good up to like 8 days,
Okay, interesting.
but I would have to re-listen to that. Okay, so then I just wanted to kind of play this a little bit past the 19th because it says by, I think, the 20th or the 21st, things were halted because of the rain and stuff. So that's where another reason why I kind of realized that this print was found on Saturday, because it had to have been found before everything got halted and the rain would have washed it away.
Sunday, June 20th, search continues. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation announced that it had received 137 tips as of Sunday afternoon. Summer Wells has not been found and has been missing for 5 days. According to Hawkins County Rescue Squad, 35 agencies from Tennessee, Ohio, Virginia, Alabama, North Carolina, and Georgia assisted in the search Sunday. About 2,400 acres had been searched since Tuesday night. June 20th, TBI tweeted, "These are just a few of the agencies that have assisted in the search for Summer Wells since Tuesday. Nearly 70 agencies from across Tennessee and several states have joined together and continue to work tirelessly." TBI also tweeted, "As of Sunday afternoon, authorities have received 137 tips related to the Amber Alert of Summer Wells. Please continue to share her photo. She was reported missing at approximately 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday, June 15th. At 5:14 p.m., June 20th, TBI tweeted another Amber Alert and picture of Summer. The Hawkins County Rescue Squad posted around 10 p.m., stating that due to overwhelming support, they were pausing the acceptance of supply donations for search crews. The logistics team will determine after Monday's search if donations are still needed. Monday, June 21st, tips stream in. The TBI told News Channel 11 Monday morning that total number of tips sent in regarding the possible whereabouts of Summer Wells had reached 150. 4 p.m. press conference. Officials announced that Summer Wells remained missing. Hawkins County Sheriff Ronnie Lawson pleaded with landowners to.
Okay, so pretty much by the beginning of the next week, it was like raining. So that was just another timeline narrowing that I did, and realized that it had to have been, the footprints were found on Saturday, in my opinion. But so after going through all that, I started linking more things, just to kind of, clarify,
She went missing.
what
Is that
people were seeing. And everyone knows Dave Rader works with EquiSearch, and he was right there, boots on the ground, and trustworthy boots on the ground too, gave us good information when he went on panels with Duty Ron. And then I don't remember this channel's name because this clip was sent to me by the person who was sending me the other clips. I forget it. It's like a law enforcement based retired police officers channel. Maybe someone in chat knows it.
Is
But
it? I know it's police off the cuff.
oh yeah. Police off the cuff. Thank
The
you.
man in the top, my left corner with the glasses and the American flag behind him. Or well, they both the American flag in the. I don't know what I'm trying. The one with the American flag in the triangle. I know there's a word for that, but yeah, that's police off the cuff.
Yes, I know.
A
Yep.
long-winded explanation.
All right, awesome. So that is theirs. And Dave is sharing, his firsthand experience. And of everyone on panels throughout this case, I feel like he's been honest and almost to a fault, because he did like a news interview, and everyone kind of ripped him apart for it. They asked him, have you spoken with the family? And he was like, no. And they didn't rip him apart for it, but they ripped me apart for sharing it, because I was kind of like weirded out that like one of the head guys leading the search for their daughter, like Don and Candace hadn't conversed with him at all, or like they hadn't even met him.
Somebody said that they found a footprint. I don't know the truth about that, but they had TBI, FBI. They had some of the locals there late at night. I got into town about 11 o'clock, and they were still searching until about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, from what I understand, because they went under the assumption is that, oh hell, maybe if she was abducted, they're seeing all of this go down. They dropped her back off near the woods, and that she was now walking the woods by herself. So then they set up.
So he's speaking like through whatever he heard, like firsthand knowledge or whatever, and he's saying that the law enforcement were thinking like, oh, she got dropped off and then was wandering the woods. Like, I thought that was interesting, because like, where is this oh hell, she got dropped off and now she's wandering the woods? Where is that coming from? Like, where did that idea come from, you know?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's interesting. See, I have not heard this before.
So let me just rewind it real quick, because he said he gets into town, I think Saturday, and that's when all this commotion was happening.
Okay.
If she was abducted, they're seeing all there that, but they had. I got into town, which would have been 4 days after she went missing. Is that somebody said that they found
4 days after she went missing, which was Saturday, the 19th.
a footprint. I don't know the truth about that, but they had.
So he pretty much just said right there, they found a footprint on Saturday that he was there or got into town. So, and then he says, I don't know how true that is, you know, so how this all is. And again, we've seen it in other cases, though. You can't deny law enforcement leaks.
Yes, they sure do.
So it seems as though we have people on Facebook talking, social media, like always. And then we have here Dave from, you know, I trust whatever he saw. Like, he has nothing to gain by coming on here and lying, you know?
Right.
But then
No.
he did follow it up with saying, I don't know how true that is.
Yeah.
But then he goes into saying, but they were thinking, oh, hell, if she was abducted, then she got dropped off and was wandering the woods. Then we see Sheriff Lawson say no sign of abduction after this Saturday. So it seems to me like that one article said that they got a lead, but it still ended up with Summers missing and we don't have any information.
Right. So it's like they got that lead, it seems, but then it didn't pan out, you know? Like,
right. I mean, it was kind of significant for a minute, and maybe in theory it sounds, you know, interesting and like, oh wow, but it just seemed like, you know, law enforcement kind of did what they had to do and it just kind of led nowhere.
yeah.
Had TBI, FBI. They had some of the locals there late at night. I got into town about 11 o'clock, and they were still searching until about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, from what I understand, because they went under the assumption is that, oh hell, maybe if she was abducted, they're seeing all of this go down. They dropped her back off near the woods, and that she was now walking the woods by herself. So then they set up this good perimeter around there, and just kind of worked our way more towards the house to create that funnel effect.
Okay.
And again, we followed creeks. There wasn't a damn stone unturned. I can't imagine.
Asked Sheriff Lawson about Wells' claims. Did dogs follow Summers' scent down the trail to the main road? The sheriff says yes.
The dogs had a pretty good trail, a track for a little while, but then it disappeared. But they lost scent when it came to the road. And sometimes canines, they will lose the scent when it changes different type, whether it maybe went from the gravel to the pavement. Nothing pointing to abduction, nothing pointing to foul play, other than her walking outside the house and not being found.
So I just had somebody in my comment section say law enforcement never reported her outside.
Yes, they did.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they did. Yeah, because everyone says dispatch got it wrong, media got it wrong. But people, TBI was tweeting that she was outside on the 16th, or on the 15th, and then Candace shared it on the 16th on her Facebook with that report.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have here Lawson saying she was outside, other than her outside. That's why I was like, either they just want everyone to know like what they were told, and they're just kind of sticking with their story being different than the parents by now, because that by them sticking to like him saying this again, it's kind of letting everyone watching know that like their story, law enforcement story, isn't aligning with the parent's story, and that's a red flag. You know what I mean? It's like feeding the narrative that like something's not matching up here. Why?
I agree. I was muted, but yeah, I mean, it's just so odd that Lawson just the stories had to have changed somewhere. They
Mhm.
had to have.
So, yeah, I just kind of threw this in here because I was just like, is he saying that she was barefoot then outside? It's just kind of like, I don't know, like if they're just not confirming 100% that those footprints were something or what, you know what I mean? Or if he's subtly saying like last seen walking outside,
Yeah.
like in all these different reports, and then that flyer said that she was possibly barefoot. It's just like all these little things that I've been kind of thinking like, okay. But again, it doesn't mean that that was from that day. Like she could have been around that neighborhood, all the time.
It's basically the main thing right now. What actually happened to her, we're still trying to find out.
Finally put this thing to sleep, yay or nay.
Yes, sir.
Were there any footprints found on Jody Sue's property?
Not that I'm aware of. I know Paragardens had asked, kind of tripped Jody Sue up on that question, and Jody Sue said,
Okay, so credit goes to Benny Keys. This is his live stream that he did with Don, I believe, in December or January. And somebody in chat asked him, please ask Don, were the footprints found on Jody Sue's property? So this is sort of when things kind of started getting like lots of misinformation started going around about another reason why I was kind of done with this topic for a while, because there was just so much misinformation going around. Like Jody Sue said this and somebody said that. So I don't know why Jody Sue is saying that the footprints or I don't know why somebody's saying that footprints were found on Jody Sue's property. And here we have Don saying like, not that he knows of, so it's just like so much misinformation going around and gossip, so it was very hard to kind of figure out where exactly these were because of all that.
Yeah, for sure. Because,
And
yeah,
then
like you said, there's just so much hearsay.
yeah, and then D Irish sent me something where Jody Sue is talking about how she found a kid's shoe in his car.
Yeah, yes. I've
So I
heard
was like,
that.
what the heck? Like, is it Summer's other shoe? You know what I mean? Or is there a reason why there's so many barefooted children, but shoes are just like in and around Andy? Because Andy used to live with Jody, So it's like, I don't know. It's just very bizarre that apparently Jody had said that too. And I couldn't make out, but after I listened to it again, yeah, she straight up says like she'd found, which I thought they broke up. So I'm like, why was she like able to see a shoe in Andy's car? It was just like really weird.
Yeah, I don't understand the time frame that she was referring to with all of that. But I'm going to run and go get my charger, but I'll be right back.
Okay.
no, not on our property, but Dobbs' property right there by them. But
how could she know that?
Yeah, but as far as I know, like when you had that map on there, Benny,
yeah.
Like, okay, so if you go from our house due west, like southwest for a half a mile is where those footprints were found, not even in Jody Sue's direction.
The other way.
Yeah, opposite way. Yes.
So apparently Don is confirming footprints. Not at Jody Sue's, but the opposite way. So I don't know, it's just I started thinking more and more like, okay, well, not to say that Don wouldn't lie about it, but it just seemed as though at this point in my mind, the footprints had more weight to them. But I was still confused where exactly he had just said, because he said something about Dobbs' property. I'm just waiting for Kelly to get back, but let me peek at chat real quick. Yeah, I agree, GT. They said to abduct Summer, you would have to be a professional. She was not kidnapped. I think we all know it by now. I don't think she was abducted. I think she was sold. That map is interesting. The one that I'm showing right now, Mr. Tomato Head. Here, let me pause it. Yeah, somebody, I'm telling you, people are just really, they've gathered a lot of information on this and they've just shared it with me in the Facebook groups. Yet this came from somebody in that group. And actually, I wanted to read a thread when I had posted in the group about, the footprints and wanting help, like trying to figure it out. Let me find it. And thank you everyone for being here. I really appreciate you all brainstorming with us tonight.
And I'm back. So I don't know what I missed, but I'm here. Hello
Nothing.
again.
Just talking to chat. Everyone pretty much saying, well, not everyone, but majority in chat just saying they don't really believe that she was randomly abducted.
I don't either.
Yeah, it's just okay. So I was talking to this person who shared all that information with me. And let me see how the information ended. Okay, so we were talking about the footprints, obviously. And they said, I thanked them and they said, you're welcome. I personally think they're very important. Notice how Lawson came out and said the scream was unfounded, can't be proven or whatever. But he's never mentioned the footprints or scent hits. So a lot of people assume they are unimportant. But I think it's very interesting that he's not saying anything about them to prove or disprove them. And in Rader's clip I posted, he states that TBI and law enforcement took them very seriously and we're looking at abduction when investigating them. But that's just my opinion. So I just felt like that was kind of like a good point to make. Like maybe it's not going to be confirmed by law enforcement because it's something that they're just kind of using to build the case, maybe.
Right? Yeah, I feel like it could go either way. Like that they're, as they say, holding that close to the vest, or that they feel like it's so unfounded and not important that they just haven't spoken on it. And maybe the reason he spoke on the scream is because Jody Sue went on, news. It wasn't just Facebook groups or whatever.
Yeah.
She went on the
Good point.
news and reported the scream. So he might
Good
have felt
point.
he needed to speak on that. I don't know.
Yeah, because when things get in the media, I feel like it's kind of like a battle with the narrative or whatever game the law enforcement is playing with the suspects or whatever at that point, like he might have felt the need to say the scream was unfounded. And he did clarify like a scent when he was asked, like, because Don said he overheard it. Remember?
Yes. Yeah.
So that was like one of the only reasons why the sheriff kind of like came out and said like, yeah, and the polygraph. Candace was telling people things about the polygraph, and then the sheriff was put on the spot by Brian Enton and pretty much said, like, yeah, they passed.
Yes. Yeah.
So it is like all these examples of like when media is kind of involved already because somebody, a suspect pretty much in the case, Jody sued, and, everyone around Summer is a suspect. Maybe she doesn't think she's a person of interest, but law enforcement might be looking at her too. You know what I mean? So Jody
Yeah.
Sue and Don and Candace have come out giving their narrative. And here we have the sheriff saying other things or clarifying things. You know what I mean? So it does seem like it could mean, it's just like you said, close to their vest, something that they're holding on to. But here the map is pretty much showing, if her scent went down to the dog trail and she went in a car and then, moved behind in the woody area that's away from the road. I mean, it's possible, I think,
Mm-hmm.
but let me just
Yeah. I mean,
fast.
I don't know.
I mean, all it really means is she walked the neighborhood. She could have been
Yeah. It doesn't.
unsupervised, or she was being sold to
Mhm.
neighbors and left on foot a lot.
Right.
But I think it's significant when we're talking about the early reports of her being on walking away from the house.
Yes. And I got a lot of comments when I put up that video of Ansley Daniel stating that she and news people spoke to Candace off camera
Yeah.
before June 28th, and that Candace said she left Summer outside. Candace went inside. Candace came outside, and Summer was gone. And I get people like, that's hearsay. I want to hear that from Candace. Well, Ansley Daniel, who I love her, and I think she's a very reputable reporter, is stating that that is what Candace told them. So again, take it how you will, but that leads as well to first reports of Summer going missing from being outside, not from going down to the basement.
Very true. And honestly, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to rely on Candace's statement like it's 100% fact. You know what I mean? Like
Same.
she's been contradicted so many times by herself, by other people. It's just, yeah. So because she said she went down to the basement doesn't necessarily mean that we have to actually believe that. And hi, Christy. How are you? She said, hey, Kelly.
Hello, Christy. Good to see you.
And thank you everyone else who joined in as well. I'm just reading Mr. Tomato Head's comment. According to Dave Rader, law enforcement were treating the prince as if she was abducted. The prints were left when they brought her back. Yeah, that was a theory. But then Dave also said that he didn't know if the prints were real or not. So that was very confusing in a way, because it was kind of like, and honestly, I believe Dave because he did this in the case also. Hi, Mexi.
Hello, Mexi. It almost sounds like Dave never saw the footprints for him. He never saw the footprints for himself. He was told the reports about the footprints. Is that?
Yes.
Like he
'Cause
never.
he got into town late that night, and they were still looking around that area pretty much where the prints were found, and there was a helicopter, which aligns with that neighbor's story, and like he shared the picture of the helicopter. It seemed in the helicopter thing that you shared, it just seems like and that news report saying that they got a tip, but it didn't lead anywhere, So right around the time Dave showed up, there was an interest in that area. They thought about, maybe she was taken and then brought back. But again, it didn't lead anywhere. And then this clip, I think I just shared it because you'll see.
Summer's mom before. Where was she during this interview? Candace was there at the home during the interview, but didn't want to talk, so she stayed inside. And this is an important question for people who are watching and still want to help. Does the sheriff think that the public can still contribute in any way or help find Summer? He wants people in the Beach Creek area to keep looking for signs of Summer, especially pieces of clothing that could still be found in fields. Investigators are also trying to find that red Tacoma truck seen in the area near the time of her disappearance. It has a ladder rack and white buckets in the bed. Yeah, still looking for that truck as well.
Child abductions, ransom child abductions.
I just thought it was interesting how that news crew went to the property and Candace stayed inside and like didn't even talk to the reporter.
Yeah, same when Brian Enton came.
It's like, it's one thing if you don't want to go on camera, understand that, you know what I mean? Like, for whatever, it could be a million reasons, but you could at least say, thanks so much for coming out here, you know, spreading the word about my daughter. I really appreciate it. I'm just not going to go on camera if you don't mind, but thanks again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, oh, this is Candace we're talking about. Come on. If she really felt like, I just don't know. I just feel like that's bizarre behavior. And it's interesting that the news crew like added that in there too.
I agree. Yeah, when they said that, I was on mute, but kind of wanted to laugh, like the way they just threw it in there, like she didn't come out. And then their behavior, I'm sorry, just does not. Yes, Jessica Candace was on camera today. She was happy. Absolutely.
Didn't I say that before?
You did. Exactly. Amber said she just looks so happy.
I'm like, why? She's way too cheery. Yeah, it just was like, wow, she's just like on here hanging out, like happy-go-lucky.
Yes.
So this little clip pretty much just talks about how they had that card team come in from the FBI. And because I just feel like it's important. And actually, let me play that first before I play this. It's important, I feel, to keep in mind that law enforcement is going to do the procedures that, you know, obviously they've been trained to do and have been doing for, you know, their careers. Even the rookies know, you know, they get told by somebody superior to them, like, make sure there's a roadblock, etc., you know? So for some reason, I just had to see if this rumor that was going around was true or not. There was like a rumor going around that there were no roadblocks done the night that Summer had gone missing. And the same thing that I did here, I just went back to the timeline and, you know, you see the reports and you see, you know, the emergency, everything that they did pretty much. So let me just share this and I'll speed it up too so that, because they talk really slow. And I just think it's important to just remember, like, even though there is corruption and shady things that go on, you know, until I have a reason to think that there is like shady things going on, like, I think we should trust that law enforcement knows a lot more than we know, and they're building a case, hopefully, and that we should rely on them, in my opinion.
I mean, I say this in a lot of the lives I do, but echoing what you just said, I just want to have the hope that Ellie is building a case and they're just sitting back, staying, you know, quiet, but that they have a lot and they're just waiting to, you know, get it all together. It can take a lot of time. So that's my hope for sure.
Hawkins County Sheriff Ronnie Lawson said tonight crews are searching for 4-year-old Summer Wells. Here's a photo of Summer released from authorities tonight. She's described as being 4 foot tall with blonde hair. We've learned she was last seen around 7 o'clock tonight. Again, you're looking at a couple of images of Summer that were shared by local authorities who tonight are involved in that search.
Yeah, again, the search is underway. This is in the Beach Creek community in the area of Ben Hill Road and Beach Creek Road. This is in Hawkins County. Tonight, crews are searching on the ground. Helicopters are are scanning overhead. We are told that police have blocked off roadways in that area in order for them to do a comprehensive search.
That's right. Earlier tonight, around 7 o'clock, Hawkins County Sheriff Ronnie Lawson says this 4-year-old little girl named Summer Wells, and maybe we can show you the photo of her again here in just a moment, that she was last seen walking away from her home on Ben Hill Road. And that was the last she was seen. And now we know that a massive search is underway, not only a search on the ground with authorities from Hawkins County, rescue squad and personnel, local volunteer fire departments, but also THP, we hear, is in the air tonight looking for the little girl in that area. Big search underway.
Yeah, she really needs to be found, obviously. She was last seen wearing a pink shirt and gray shorts. And we were told that she was seen walking from her home on that road.
Bianca Murray tonight, latest on the search.
Tonight, emergency crews from around Hawkins County have converged on this rural community near Church Hill. They're looking for 4-year-old Summer Wells. Sheriff Ronnie Lawson said she was last seen walking from her home on Ben Hill Road off Beach Creek Road, not far from here, around 7 tonight. She was last seen wearing a pink shirt and gray shorts. Earlier tonight, I saw a deputy searching vehicles off Beach Creek Road. Hawkins County deputies and first responders are searching on the ground. THP and medical helicopters are in the air. We're told a command post has been established, and we're at a Baptist church on Beach Creek Road, where we're told information will be released as soon as it's available. Reporting for News Channel 11, I'm Bianca Murray.
Says Summer's gone, we can't find her anywhere, the police are here searching, and I said I'll be right there.
Lane said she arrived at the Beach Creek area around 9 p.m. on June 15th, the night Summer was reported missing.
I was ready. I was like, let's do this. Let's get the flashlights out. Let's get some snacks in our bags. It's going to be an all-nighter, And they wouldn't let us. They wouldn't let us even go up there.
Police blocking the entrance to Ben Hill Road. Lane says she offered assistance the only way she could.
And we showed them some pictures of Summer. The police didn't have very good pictures of her, or some of them hadn't even seen a picture of her yet.
Later that night, she was granted access to the Wells home.
At that point, there's really nothing I could do. They just needed someone to pray with them.
June 23rd, investigators set up a roadblock to ask drivers if they noticed anything unusual on the day Summer Wells disappeared. From what I've been able to uncover going back from the beginning in the timeline, it seems as though local police and local search crews were, in fact, using a roadblock the day and night that Summer went missing. We then hear later on the 23rd, through TBI's Twitter and through this other timeline in the media, that they did, in fact, do another roadblock and asked for additional information. It seems to me like local police did their own roadblock, and then later down the line, TBI followed up with their own. I have an entire video going through the media reports and the TBI and law enforcement statements from the beginning of the case, and I will link it in the description box below. Thank you, and see you all soon.
Okay, so I just wanted to share that with anyone who hadn't seen that, and to reiterate that, they had done proper protocols, and we can have faith in knowing that the night she went missing, there was roadblocks, which means in that area, I mean, nobody was able to kind of move around freely without, deputies were searching cars, etc., So like they said here, no sign of abduction. And after the footprints were found on Saturday, Dave Rader talks about a theory like, oh, maybe she was abducted and put back, and they were looking the woods for her. Well, that was the 19th of June. Here we are, 8 months later, over.
And mysterious disappearances of children.
We brought the FBI car team in, and everything that they could find, there was no indication whatsoever of child abduction.
The TBI asked for help finding the driver of a Toyota pickup truck that was seen in the area around the time Summer went missing.
So what do you think about, law enforcement's actions that they've taken? Like, I feel like, we've obviously seen them be corrupt in other cases and be, inconsistent or, mess up. But for some reason, I don't really know too much about Ronnie Lawson, but from what I do know, he had some big drug bust or involvement in some big drug bust or something. And I mean, he's been around for like 40 years.
Yeah, he's been around for a while. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about him either. I do know there are a lot of people who don't trust him. There's rumors that he's related to Dawn somehow. But But yeah, I like how you made that video showing that there were roadblocks that very night, because that just seems like it would be protocol when there's a missing child. So
And I have
seems like
no
they did it.
problem pointing things out that were wrong, but when we're talking about what the possibilities could be, we went through everything of a random abduction and everyone pretty much was like, yeah, no, their property is way too like elaborate or unique. Like it wasn't just a random person. And now we're talking about, where this person would have gone or who would be coming and going. And it seems like we can rely on the fact that but the other thing is the main problem is Candace did not call 911 until they tried to find her themselves, and for how long?
Yes. Yeah, I feel like somewhere it was said 10 minutes, but again, I want the 911 call. That's going to be huge, her and Dawn's.
Right. And it's not even so much, when the roadblocks took place. It was how long did they wait before calling 911? And there's another reason why we haven't gotten those 911 calls,
Yeah.
And it's crazy because go ahead.
I was just going to say, have you heard of that other case that Pippi Longstocking 2020 is bringing up? It was Ronnie Lawson's brother's land that she was found on. It was Carly Trent.
I've heard the talk of it.
Yeah. That'd be we should look into that one, that
Yeah.
case. Because I remember it, but not the details.
And that would be good because if we're going to weigh credibility with the suspects in the case and what's his name, the coworker, Dudley, if we're going to weigh in on everybody's credibility, then Lawson, is fair game as well, because we need to know if should I rely on this guy or not? Right now, I have no reason to think that he doesn't know what he's doing or that he's screwed things up. I'm just being honest. And I'm going to support law enforcement until they give me a reason not to. We've studied other cases where we've been very critical of law enforcement, and that's our right to. But for right now, I'm just going to trust that there's a case being built. There's a reason why he's said certain things and didn't say other things,
Yeah. Agree.
I put this picture up here because I just thought if you're
5.
looking, well, yeah, yeah, red flag, 5 balloons on her 6th birthday. Great.
Mhm.
But look at the body language in a way. Don's got his back to them.
Yeah, good point.
And of course, this is just a still frame, it's not giving
Yeah.
the whole picture and all that. But I just thought a still frame still can speak 1,000 words. Mom and daughter closer. Don further away from them with his back to them.
Right.
So
that's why I think Candace is doing the YouTube now, because Dawn is gone.
Yeah.
I think I don't know.
What?
I was gonna say I think Dawn is abusive. I think Candace isn't perfect either, but I think Dawn is an emotional, probably calls her names. She even was on a YouTube one night. It's like, I don't care if Donnie don't want me on here, and talking about how he calls her the B word. And so I think with him gone, she feels like I can get on here and talk.
Yeah.
Just my opinion.
And Cher has even given her insight of what she's seen, and it obviously isn't a healthy marriage. I mean, even the 911
No.
calls from that we know of, we don't even know of all of them. But yeah, I agree. Even Don says that Grandis didn't like him for the longest time, but suddenly they were getting along. And it makes me really suspicious that why she wouldn't like him for so long, and then Summer goes missing and now they're getting along.
Right. Yeah, it's do they all know something? They have
Right.
to. Yeah, who knows? We don't know.
Exactly. And that's the thing is this second half. I mean, that was everything I had on the footprints. And then this is just kind of like 2 clips of Candace, and then that's it. But yeah, so now that we're done with the footprints aspect of this, what's your conclusion?
Okay, so my conclusion is I do think the neighbor was being honest about finding the footprints. But beyond that, where he says that they told him Summer scent was on it, and all that, I don't know that I believe that. I do believe they probably asked for their children's sizes. I think the fact that, Dave Radar had that information does lead to the theory that they did look into it. I'm kind of thinking that nothing came of it. And I don't buy that they can prove Summer's scent was on it from June 15th,
Right.
So, yeah, and then again, I think it could have been an older footprint. I don't know. But if this neighbor is lying, that is super weird.
Exactly.
But I don't know. It does seem like Ellie it got passed on to Dave Radar, and that to me stands out.
Mm-hmm. In the helicopter pattern that you shared with
Yes.
me. And I mean that the media is saying they followed up on a lead that night with the helicopter and all that, and a field search, but it didn't lead anywhere, Like
Right.
we would have heard more at this point. And maybe it's going to be saved for whatever, but the problem is we don't know where Summer is. So even if they're building a case, what is the footprint really going to do without knowing where she is right now?
Exactly. Yeah, I just don't feel like it would be substantial enough. I don't know.
I know. And that's the thing is even if I believe that it was Summers or it could be Summers, like you said, we don't know the day. And it almost leads me to just think like, okay, so she did walk the neighborhood and she was walking away from the house when she was last seen, or she really was reported as that. And now the story's changed to the basement.
Right.
And I don't want to say this at all, but
And I know you sent me this, and I know a lot of people have seen this, but I just wanted to play it for those who haven't seen it. This was like a recent statement that Candace had made on Benny Key's channel that I thought was sort of red flaggish.
I had to put her on the side and worry about the boys because they're still here, it's still living, it's still in foster care, and I don't want to do that. I can't do that. Look at them.
So again, she said she's got to put the focus on the boys because they're still living. They're still here.
Yeah. Jessica says there were 6 balloons, so I'm gonna have to rewatch that because
there are some people who are saying like, no, you just can't see it. It's like, well, then whoever is their media manager, which apparently he has his own YouTube now. Did you hear that?
No, Tim Mullen.
Yeah,
does. Oh my.
Maybe I was dreaming.
Yeah,
I really
we'll have
hope
to
it
look
was a
into that.
nightmare, but I swear I heard that he has it, which is scary because that's just going to be his like propaganda channel.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, Sandy Grant said she's going to counseling. That is what she's being told. Who is? Sky Z says, very telling in my opinion. What? I missed it. Oh, Candace right now talking? Yeah. And then this was, I'm sure people have seen this, but Don had just gone to jail and they're like on here And I don't judge Benny for talking. It's a lot of people were saying like, why is he talking about Don this way? Like, whatever, he's got his own whatever going on. Just keep Candace talking, in my opinion.
I agree. Sorry, yeah, keep her talking.
Mm-hmm. And whatever's she's comfortable, whatever channel she's going on, I'm going to be listening because, it just kind of speaks volumes in a way.
Drinking my Mountain Dew, looking ass.
Oh, okay, looking ass. You talked to Dumbass today?
Yeah, I talked to Dumbass today.
What the hell did he say?
Man, he was crying the blues.
Pissing and moaning in his beer, is he?
Pretty much. He was like, please don't leave me. I love you. I'm so sorry. Blah, blah, blah kind of shit.
You going to leave his dumbass?
You know what? I'm going to stick here and take care of my kids and put this house together. And whether he comes back or not is another story.
Fucking right. You got to do what you got to do, right?
By the time he gets back here and I get everything back to normal and get the house done the way I want it done, it might be Bayasiyata.
And and if that's the way that it goes, then that's the way that it goes, because this is a lot for him to put on you like this, And,
okay, look, don't get me wrong. I love the man. I love him with all my heart. But who's the one here taking care of the business, trying to get all the kids back, trying to build up this house the way it should be built up? I'm the only one doing it. I've been the only one doing it, even when he was here.
Absolutely. I mean, many of these things that needed to be done are things that he could only do.
And I'm not throwing him under the bus.
No, we're not.
But I know a lot of people would say that. I'm not doing that.
Forget them. We're doing.
I love him, but
I know you do. I love him too.
But I have to do what is good for me and the kids.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
My kid. I'm sorry. I love Donnie, but my kids are more important than he is.
And I applaud you for for saying that and thinking that way. I mean, that's you've got a lot of people that are supporting you. You have a lot of people that are praying for you. There's just this whole thing. Nothing changes because Don's in jail. I mean, if anything, it might become a little easier to navigate because so much stuff isn't being said and done online. I mean,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I love him, but the kids come first. First, my territory is the kids.
Always.
And it will always be like that.
Yep. Do you think Donnie can
no matter who's in my life or what person's in my life?
That's it. Do you feel like he can stop drinking?
At this point in time, I can't really tell because he's like in the boo-boo cry, I'm so sorry kind of state right now. I can't really tell right now. Because he's always said, I'm sorry, I'll never do it again, but then it's always right back to that.
I mean, maybe he'll get it right this time, right? Maybe
he will, maybe he won't.
Patty says men are big babies.
I'm leaving it in God's hands.
That's all you can do, sweetie, is leave it in God's hands. That's all you can ever hope to do. I know that there's so many of us that,
So pretty much I just wanted to say, and following up with that clip is I hope she's, telling the truth by, she wants to do everything she can to get her kids back, her fixing up the house and all that. That's great. I really encourage her to check into, AA meetings, possibly. No one's saying that she has to go to rehab, although I would suggest that, but I'm obviously not a doctor or her doctor or know exactly what substances she relies on, but from what I've been hearing, a lot of alcohol possibly. But I don't know. I just hope that she does take the steps that she needs to take to work on herself and getting things ready for the children. And it does seem like she's kind of whatever about Don, which I can understand if after being kind of kept down by him, it seems like emotionally and if that 911 call was true, you know, physically, and I'm sure they've gotten physical before. So I hope that things go the way that she wants them to go and that they should go in a healthy direction.
I agree. I really hope she gets, you know, the help she needs and she can, I don't know.
And it's a long road, and if that's the state of Tennessee decides that she's no longer a suspect anymore and that she's able to have her children back, then it's in the court's hands pretty much. But I just wanted to say, like, I don't want to judge and say that she won't get her stuff together, because I want to say that hopefully she does, you know? And I agree with Ross Illusion right here. They said, it's odd, very odd that the 911 calls are remaining locked away from view. Got to be something big in there to be kept a secret. And I agree. Like, it's obviously because they had like that 911 call for that Alex Baldwin thing, or Alec Baldwin incident that took place. Like, immediately you could find it on Twitter or whatever. But for some reason, this case has it locked down. And you know, I really think that that's a tool that they're using against Don and Candace. You know, something happened in their story where it's fumbled, and they're hoping to possibly build it and use it against them in the long run. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they're going to be, you know, those calls are going to be very telling. I really do.
Hi, Alex.
Hello.
But let me think if there was anything else I wanted to cover. I don't know. Was there anything that you or chat wanted to say?
Just kind of looking at chat. Yeah.
Really? Amber Nick said she was saying a lot about her relationship today. Too much for the public, in my opinion. Interesting. Yeah, Amby said, whoa, she's so different. Like, as soon as Don's gone, she's very... Why is she out there so much now?
I think it's because Dawn wanted to be the spokesperson. I don't know. I think she feels more comfortable now that he's out of the house. That's my opinion, to be on YouTube. Because, yeah, I think their relationship's toxic, in my opinion, from what I've seen. But, yeah, I think he's gone. And so she has the time and the ability to do it without him kind of being over her shoulder or whatever. Because, again,
Yeah.
she was on a panel before he went to jail, and she was like, you know, I don't care. Donnie doesn't want me on here. And if I remember correctly, she went outside to talk, but she wasn't, I don't think her camera was on. Yeah, Sandy says she's allowing herself to feel again.
Yeah, possibly. I just don't know. You know what I mean? And that clip that you shared the other day on your live stream of Grandis,
Yeah.
when Benny was talking to her.
It was odd to see her.
Oh, Alex, it's okay. She said, did you guys see my first comment? I'm so sorry. I fell asleep with Bentley laying down with him. I will definitely listen to what I missed. No problem. I can sum it up to you. We think that they really did find footprints. We don't know if Summers sent 100% were linked to them, because that was pretty much hearsay from what we've determined. But we think that they did think that there was a lead. Well, honestly, why would they send like the helicopters and stuff if they didn't get like some scent? Although I guess maybe a print would make them think it was a lead, maybe.
Yeah, and I feel like they kind of had the helicopters were there anyway, right? I mean, so I don't know. I don't feel like it's like too much resource. I just don't feel like they found a scent. I don't know. I don't.
Yeah,
know
well,
that
they
I'm
did the
buying that one.
helicopters the night of, and then didn't do them until this day, Saturday, when Dave Rader is saying they found the prints.
Right.
But then nothing came of it.
Right.
So, yeah, it's hard to really think. Like, pretty much I still don't think, I mean, FBI went in there, the card team Ronnie Lawson pretty much said no sign of abduction. They're still saying that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just it doesn't really lead me to any type of clear theory. Like, I don't believe, oh, it means she was being carried and put down. I don't think that. I feel like it just means she walked the neighborhood at times.
Yeah, I agree.
And maybe she was out walking that day and taken by somebody, but it was somebody who knew her, I feel. And the
Yeah.
parents knew something, you know?
I feel the same way. I feel if she was taken, it was because the parents were putting Summer into positions where she could be taken. Because, I don't know, even H said, you know, how Candace would get drunk and high and think she lost the kids. And he's like, so this has happened before, something like that. And H is like, well, she hasn't gone missing. It's like, has she gone missing before? And then even Dawn on Ziggy, this is debatable, but he made that comment, imagine, you know, whatever, when you just get your daughter back, your daughter who you just got back. Some people think he was referring to Ziggy's daughter. I don't know. I clipped that one because I found it interesting. But there's so much out there that these, you know, the parents have said to kind of unpack and work through.
Yeah. And a lot of reason for people to possibly be hiding something, even if it was, you know, she had gone, they knew she was going somewhere and then weren't returned. It's just interesting how Don just said more than once that he wanted to go out and question drug dealers. Like, who are the people that you are comfortable with approaching and questioning? You know what I mean? Like, who do you associate with? But then
Exactly.
says, we try to talk or keep it to just church people.
Right.
But they
Yeah.
hadn't even been to that church for like a whole year, you know? It's just very interesting. Like, the church to me is just a front for Don, like for probation, but then he ended up screwing up anyways. But Alex said she was reported to be barefoot. Interesting, Amber. So has your theory changed? I would say that I 100% think it's a possibility that she was barefoot that day. Her shoes were in the yard. Candace has never once mentioned what she was wearing as far as shoes, you know? So I do think that she wandered the neighborhood barefoot, but I don't know if it was that day. But I do think when she was taken or wherever she went, she was barefoot. So my theory kind of changes in a sense that I believe that it's a possibility those really were her footprints, but I don't know what day that those were put there. And then I will say I do think she was barefoot when she left that day, just because her shoes were in the yard. And, you know, we have no description of what was on her feet that day that she went missing.
Yeah,
Just
I
everything else as far as clothing.
agree. I do agree she was barefoot.
Yeah, and that's Jessica said she was always barefoot. Exactly. So it's kind of you're kind back to, all right, well, I guess she walked the neighbor. I feel like she was always in outside, like Don said, you know?
Right. So what do you believe about the footprint exactly? I mean, you believe they were there or but what we just don't know if it was necessarily
I
from that day. Like, what are your thoughts?
I wish that we knew if the hearsay about her scent on the um footprint was concrete, you know? Like the second that maybe this all comes out through trial or whatever, I hope we get the report that says the dogs alerted to Summer's scent on the footprint or, you know, tracked it to that, you know? We
Exactly.
have the sheriff saying that it did vanish, her scent vanished when it went down the dog trail. I believe that because Ronnie Lawson has said that. But we don't have like any confirmation about the scent being on these prints besides hearsay through neighbors. Um, but there's like a lot of talk of it. So, and like the helicopter and them saying in the media that they followed up on a lead, but it led nowhere. I mean, it just seems like it doesn't really lead anywhere. Like, I'm sure they did a casing of it. And I've taken forensic science in my first year at college, and we learned how to take the plaster casings of a footprint. It was really interesting, but maybe they have this stored somewhere and just building it for case. Like, I think that it's possible she could have been walking around or on her way back from something, or not returned, once she had wandered somewhere. I mean, it's very possible those were her prints, I feel. But the time of it, I don't know. And, she was clearly always barefoot. So I just don't think it has any much to do with like her abduction that day. I just don't know. Like you said, there would be other prints, like of people with her.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, this might have just been kind of like a rogue footprint that didn't get washed away, or whatever. And it doesn't mean it has anything to do with that day. But yeah, I'm the same. I really do wonder if they have it documented somewhere that they're just haven't told us yet. Either way, like, footprints, they did alert or they did not to it being summer scent.
Right. And again, it's just kind of like, it's not concrete, like they didn't find her. So what would a footprint really mean at that point, in a way, So
Yes.
I guess I believe that it's possible, more so, that they really are legit. The other thing that I'm confused about is that one neighbor saying that they thought a dog was with her.
Okay, I vaguely remember that.
Like, in the thread that I was reading or whatever, it said that the neighbor said they thought a dog was with her.
Where? With Summer?
Yeah, hang on.
One was near the woods and one was near a road. Just because of people posting his house and truck on here. I have seen road. I don't know if the searchers would be telling anyone anything like that.
Oh, geez. Of course, now I don't know if I'll be able to
I was
find
under
it.
the impression that law enforcement was steering more towards foul play instead of her wandering off for an abduction. Of course, I may be wrong, so don't quote me. I may have missed something, especially with all the gossip surrounding this case. Last time I checked, I'm pretty sure I know where I live. I was in my yard when the search crew was on my property. I heard the dogs bark in to identify a scent. A few minutes later, 2 deputies pulled in my driveway on a gator and told me they had found a child's barefoot footprint and the dogs identified Summer's scent on it. They asked what size shoe my kids wore and if my kids had been in the woods barefoot in the last couple of days. After that, they found another footprint farther up the ridge in my other neighbor's woods. So at some point, she walked from her house through my yard into my neighbor's yard and in the woods behind their house. They brought out a massive search crew and searched all of my vehicles, buildings, and my entire property and flew the helicopter over us for several hours straight. Never found anything else that we know of. Here's a picture of the search helicopter above us. I don't think the neighbor can be trusted any more than anybody else. Just because he says something doesn't mean it's true. I'm not sure what I believe from anyone these days. She didn't just vanish. The new neighbors lived there less than a year, I think I read. I would be interested in knowing how far of a walk that would be and if Summer went there prior to the time she went missing. Are there children her age there? Also, would the police release information like dogs hitting on her scent there? Who told us about the dogs hitting in her driveway? So many questions, and I think the people on the hill know more than they are saying. Wonder how often Summer was out playing unsupervised for long periods of time. At some point, the dogs alerted at 2 different neighbor houses. I don't know why law enforcement didn't tell us, but it's probably one of the many things we don't know. I think they know. I think they bumbled at the beginning and are screwed now. That's just a neighbor. His word doesn't mean any more than anyone else's. This guy sure likes to post talking about a neighbor and telling me one on their land. Law enforcement had said for locals not to get involved, so we are avoiding the area so we did not hinder any search efforts. They are not the house that is on. The neighbor can be trusted on it. Never seen anyone else on my land. With kids being kids, I can't say they were never on it before. Sometimes dogs will come down out of the woods and my dogs will chase them away, but I haven't seen any people on it. Neither me or my other neighbor are comfortable posting our addresses on here. One neighbor is being harassed and yelled at because of people posting his house and truck on here. I have seen several out-of-state cars parking on the side of the road and trying to get through or over my neighbor's gates. Not a very smart thing to do. Without knowing which direction she was going, it's hard to say. One was near the woods and one was near a road. Just don't know which print came first. And that's just what supposedly the neighbors said. Not sure if that's true or not. I don't know if the searchers would be telling anyone anything like that. I may have missed something, but I was under the impression that law enforcement was steering more towards foul play instead of her wandering off or an abduction. Of course, I may be wrong, so don't quote me. I may have missed something, especially with all the gossip surrounding this case. Last time I checked, I'm pretty sure I know where I live. I was in my yard when the search crew was on my property. I heard the dogs bark in to identify a scent. A few minutes later, 2 deputies pulled in my driveway on a gator and told me they had found a child's barefoot footprint and the dogs identified summer scent on it. They asked what size shoe my kids wore and if my kids had been in the woods barefoot in the last couple of days. After that, they found another footprint farther up the ridge in my other neighbor's woods. So at some point, she walked from her house through my yard into my neighbor's yard and in the woods behind their house. They brought out a massive search crew and searched all of my vehicles, buildings, and my entire property and flew the helicopter over us for several hours straight. Never found anything else that we know of. Here's a picture of the search helicopter above us. I don't think the neighbor can be trusted any more than anybody else. Just because he says something doesn't mean it's true. I'm not sure what I believe from anyone these days. She didn't just vanish. The new neighbors lived there less than a year, I think I read. I would be interested in knowing how far of a walk that would be and if Summer went there prior to the time she went missing. Are there children her age there? Also, would the police release information like dogs hitting on her scent there? Who told us about the dogs hitting in her driveway? So many questions, and I think the people on the hill know more than they are saying. Wonder how often Summer was out playing unsupervised for long periods of time. At some point, the dogs alerted at 2 different neighbor houses. I don't know why law enforcement didn't tell us, but it's probably one of the many things we don't know. I think they know. I think they bumbled at the beginning and are screwed now. That's just a neighbor. His word doesn't mean any more than anyone else's. This guy sure likes to post a lot of comments, and I wouldn't take his word over anybody else's. Not saying he's lying, but a lot of people are just attention seekers, and I've seen a few comments made by him. Remember, the person responsible usually likes to be in the center of everything, too. Exactly. Why in the world would you go on social media and be talking about a case when the case is still open and the precious little girl is still not found? Attention. Message from the neighbor to me, telling me she heard they found a footprint, the one on my land, and telling me one on their land. Law enforcement had said for locals not to get involved, so we are avoiding the area so we did not hinder any search efforts. They are not the house that is on the corner of Ben Hill and Beach Creek. I will not give their location away or their name. And then he shared a picture of his chat. It's like a text message thread with supposedly the neighbor. And he said, we haven't looked on our land yet because we don't want it to disturb any potential evidence. And then the other person said, well, I had heard they had found footprints and also believe there is a dog with her. They also found footprint next to us and on our land. Did you all put...
Weird.
Sorry.
A dog.
Sorry. Finally found it.
That's
Yeah.
weird.
So I don't know. Again, this
Well,
is from a neighbor to another neighbor, posted in a Facebook group by the neighbor.
A
So,
lot of hearsay for me.
yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, even if he was getting flack for this, I feel like if it's true, dig your heels in and defend the truth. But I don't know. Some might retreat after that. I don't know. I hope one day, we'll find out more.
Yeah, it's hard to not to question the intentions behind this person like putting out all this information about it, And
Yeah.
it's like knowing that it's neighbors, one neighbor to another neighbor, and just knowing more now about what we know about the neighbors, it's kind of like, what if they're just trying to steer something some way? Because I mean, at this point, everyone knows that their neighbors are questionable.
Yes, good point.
So it's kind of like, Dave Rader says that there might have been a lead. The media said that there was a lead. Nothing came of it. Was this lead planted there by the neighbors in a way, and then planted in Facebook groups by the neighbors? So
Yeah, and it could be that there's truth to the footprint being found. Yes, but then could they have, stretched the truth by saying it was confirmed to have Summer scent? I mean, there could be some truth and some untruth.
right. And it can also mean the theory that we've been saying, that she wandered the neighborhood a lot for whatever reason, and that's why she was barefoot and leaving
Right.
them. I mean, she was dirty in pictures too, so I have no doubt that she walked all around, in that area for whatever reason. But I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like I think that the footprints are real, but I just don't have much more to say about them because law enforcement, they would have kept searching that area and they moved on to other areas.
Right. Yeah, good point.
It wasn't like
Mr. Tomato Head
I don't
said,
know.
yeah, I see what you're saying. And that's a good point. That guy taking everything down and shutting up is the only normal I've seen from a neighbor. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like you can really go any way with that and what he's saying. I just don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I
But
if
you
we had
laid it out very well. And I definitely, hadn't heard Dave Radar. So that was interesting to see that connected with what they were saying. The helicopter, all of the way you laid it all out was really interesting.
Yeah, and I would say that it was found on the 19th, like Dave Rader said, and again, it didn't lead anywhere, unfortunately. So, I guess, yeah, that's pretty much my conclusion of the footprints. They're significant, but then at the same time, after reviewing everything, it's kinda like, until we have confirmation, um that her scent really was on them from information other than neighbors to other neighbors. I mean, I just don't know how much more I can put this into my theory. But at the same time, what this did signify is, if law enforcement, helicopters, everything, FBI, TBI were on the scene that day, like Dave Rader says, and then they're still reporting after this, no sign of abduction, then they thought that the footprints were very insignificant.
Right.
Because if there would need to be more, for them to say, wow, yeah, it does look like she was maybe dragged through these areas and that's why her footprint was there. They wouldn't just keep doubling down on no evidence of abduction,
Yeah.
in my
I think
opinion.
I think it's telling how that's the one thing that they do say, that they had all these different agencies coming in or who came in, and they just say there's no evidence of an abduction.
Yeah. So it didn't really give me any new information, sadly, even though it took me like a month to find all this and piece it together.
Right?
All it
That's
told me was it wasn't an abduction.
Yeah.
I just feel like more and more they know where she'd gone.
Yeah, in my opinion, just my opinion, I definitely think parents and Grandis as well are holding things back at the absolute very least about that day.
Yeah, I agree. And Christy said, I agree. Jody hasn't helped a damn thing except confuse people. And the other neighbors are mostly RSO or their parents of offenders. It's sick and crazy how many RSOs are around that Beach Creek area. It is. And we wanted to start looking into Jody, but I just feel like from what I've seen from the outside, it's a lot of like fake news being spread by her. Is that like not the feeling everyone's feeling?
Yeah, I just cannot. The bits and pieces that I catch of Jody Sue, I don't fully trust her. But I don't know. I don't think she's doing anything super helpful.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't feel like it's even worth our time, like, combing through her stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I already wasted time combing through H's dad's stuff.
Yeah, you did.
'Cause, we didn't get any more information about Jose, but at the same time, I feel like I don't believe he's in the Philippines.
Right. Yeah, I just would love to have an interview with Jose and know about those 14 people and his time on Ben Hill Road.
I
Again, not saying
know.
he has anything to do with whatever has happened to Summer, but he can tell us what was going on in October of 2020.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it would be nice if we could get more, but it seems like H's dad is staying very closed lip about Jose.
Yeah.
Still very defensive if he's brought up, so nobody brings him up.
Right. Just shuts it down.
Yeah. Alright, well, I guess that's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to share, and I really appreciate you joining me tonight, and, um, if anyone wants to, go back and read through this information from the neighbors to the other neighbors to the Facebook group, feel free. And if you comment down below anything you pull from it, please let us know, and we like to check the comments as well and carry on the conversation with you guys.
Right. And yeah, that's true, Janina Carter. We're just saying we don't believe it's an abduction. You say Summer was abducted. I don't know how you can say that with such fact. We don't know what happened to Summer. But yeah, they've had all these outside agencies. They say no evidence of abduction. But yeah, in our opinion, she wasn't just randomly abducted. If other people think that, fine. But that's not what I think anyway.
Right. And of course, this is an ongoing investigation. Everyone is still a suspect. Nobody has been cleared. So, I mean, we're just sitting back and just theorizing and combing through things that we do have. And until we get more information, that's all we can really do. But, I appreciate even people who pop in who don't see things the way I do. I have no problem with difference of opinions and all that. So I just wanted to thank everyone in chat and the mods, and thank you again, Kelly. And if anyone is interested in the Chris Watts case or other true crime cases, please subscribe to Kelly's channel, CDT, and it's linked in the description box, but I'll link it right now in the chat. And yeah, just, really appreciate you coming on and chatting with me and all that good stuff.
Sorry, it wasn't letting me unmute. But yeah, thank you for having me. And yeah, I'm the same way. I'm all for different opinions. I just want everyone to know that what I am saying is all just my opinion. That's all I can do, you know? And
Yeah.
I just want to talk and theorize and think through this case because there's so much to it. So yeah, I appreciate everyone in chat chatting with us. And thank you, Amber, for having me on as always. And Scott Peterson's trial or whatever. Sorry, I'm tired, but starts tomorrow. So that's something I think we're both going to be following.
Oh, yes. Yes. And we have playlists on both our channels covering the Scott Peterson case, and everything that's been going on in the news with him lately is on both channels as well. So we will be in touch, and we'll talk to everybody soon. And thank you so very much again, and talk to everybody later.
Bye, everybody.